Yo, what up, dorks? It's time to do a couple of book summaries here. Let's see how many we can knock out. As you can tell, it is May the 4th, International Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. Yes, I'm a dork too, so I feel perfectly justified in calling you dorks. It's all right. Last time we left off, we were on Beowulf. We had just finished up book 20. Grendel's mom had just come and stirred up some crap, and now Orf Hrothgar, he's like, "Oh, Beowulf, help me! You're my only hope." Huh? Catch the Star Wars reference? Huh? So, book 21 is where we're gonna start off here. Book 21, pretty much, Beowulf says, "Hey, don't worry about it, dude. I got your back." He starts off by saying, "It is better one should avenge his friend than mourn him long. Each of us must abide life's end in this world. Let him that may win fame or death. That shall be the best thereafter for a warrior when life is no more." So he says, "Don't worry about it. We will avenge your buddy Ashir, and we are going to make sure we take out Grendel's mom." So Hrothgar jumps up, gives Beowulf a big old hug, says, "All right, let's go do this." So they take off. Horse is saddled up for Hrothgar, and they all basically follow the blood trail and the footprints that Grendel's mother had left, and they go track her down. So they find her. He straps up his armor, or straps on his armor, puts on his helmet, gets all decked out for battle, and that's where book 21 ends. Book 22 basically says, "Hey, if I'm gonna die, make sure that I'm remembered, and take my treasures that I've won already, and take those back to Healak, so that he knows what happened to me." On page 30, he goes into the water where Grendel's mother lives. It's like you have to dive into the water and swim under to get to this cave. And so he found the water. It's all like drenched in blood. They found Ashir's head like sitting out here outside the water, and they're like, okay, so this is it, I guess. And Beowulf jumps in, and she like grabs him as he jumps in the water and drags her back to his lair. He is kind of thrashing about, doesn't quite know where he's at, what he's doing. He wakes up, and he is laying in this cave, and he sees a fire flashing brightly, and then he says, "The worthy one looked then on the she-wolf of the sea bottom, the mighty water wife. The full strength of onset he gave with his battle axe, his hand held not back from the stroke, so that on her head the ring-decked blade sang out its greedy war song." So like Beowulf wakes up, sees her, grabs his battle axe and thunk right in her head. Breaks his axe on her head. So he's like, "Well, that didn't work." So he grabs his sword. um, she actually throws him on the ground. This is page 31. Throws him on the ground. She pulls out her dagger. She stabs him. And if it wasn't for the armor that he was wearing at that point, her dagger would have killed him. He would be dead. So that's book 31 or 32, sorry. Book book 22. Now book 23, he gets back on his feet, and he sees this old ancient war sword like laying in the treasures that she has stashed around here. It's an old blade of the Ettins. The Ettins were the demons, the giants. They're supposed to, in Norse mythology, the Ettins were like the servants of the underworld. They were going to be there, part of Ragnarok, the last days, the last battle. But he sees this sword. He grabs it and wrenches it free of this treasure pile. And then he takes the sword and hacks all the way through her body, like catches her on the side of the neck and comes all the way down through her torso and like splits her in half. So, needless to say, she did. And then the sword starts to melt because her blood is so acidic. She is such an evil creature that like she's just nasty. And so her blood makes the sword melt. And then he looks over to the side, and over here, he sees Grendel. And he dead. Like, had his arm ripped off, and he's like laying there with just the bloody stump, and he's just like, yeah, he's dead too. So Beowulf at this point takes this sword that's starting to melt, and he like hacks off Grendel's mother's head. Now hours have passed, and um, the people that had come with him, like most of them thought he was dead. So they take off. They're like, you know what? He's already dead. I'm not sticking around for this. I'm gone. His own men wait with him and wait and wait and wait. And then after he kills Grendel's mother, they like see all this blood churning up out of the water, and they're just like, oh no, that can't be a good sign. So they're there and they're all sad and everything. And Beowulf looks around this cave and he's still underneath the water, and he's like, I'm not taking any of this with me, but I am going to take Grendel's mother's head, and I'm going to take the hilt of this sword, and I'm swimming to the surface. So he like stuffs these things in a bag, and he goes swimming to the surface. And page 33, soon he was swimming that had borne erstwhile the battle shock of the foe. He dove up through the water. The moil of the waves was all cleansed the wide domains where the strange demon had yielded up her life's day in this world that passeth. And so all of his friends see him pop out of the water. They're like, oh my God, dude, you're alive. And they like grab him and hug him, and they're all excited and they're cheering. And they go marching back to Heorot, back to Hrothgar's place. And they look at Beowulf and they're just like, what? You're alive? And that ends book 23. Now you'll notice on page 34, where you have book 24 and 25, there's a footnote there. And I told you guys a while back, if you read the footnotes, it's going to make this whole thing easier to understand. So we're on footnote 24, which is on page 66. And you notice footnote 24, oh, sorry, footnote 24 is on page 68, my bad. Page 68, it says the 25th division of the poem, marked in the manuscript at line 1740, begins apparently in the middle of a sentence. And the two divisions are here accordingly run together. So they just took sections 24 and 25 in this translation and went and squished them together. So not a big deal. But sections 24 and 25, basically page 34, Beowulf comes marching into Heorot, and he's like, yo, Hrothgar, look what I got. And he holds up Grendel's mother's head and the melted sword. He's got the hilt of this melted sword. And he says, I got her. You're good. And then Hrothgar looks at the hilt, looks at the head. And he says he's so happy. He's so excited. You know, he's like, I shall fulfill, on page 35, I shall fulfill my troth to thee that we spake of ere now together. Thou shalt be in every wise a comfort long established to thy people, a help to the warriors. And then he goes on to tell the story of Heremod. Now, Heremod is a dude who basically didn't do what he was supposed to do. Heremod did some really nasty things. He was devious. And the story of Heremod goes all through page 35. And then on page 36, Hrothgar starts to give some advice to Beowulf. Guard thee from death-dealing malice, dear Beowulf, best of men, and choose the better, the eternal gain. Give not thyself to over-pride, O warrior renowned. Now is the flower of thy strength for one while. Soon it shall be hereafter the sickness or the sword's edge, foes clutch or floods whelm, the sword's grip or the spear's flight or grievous old age shall part thee from thy strength. or the brightness of thine eyes shall fail and grow dark. Straightway shall it be, princely one, that death shall overcome thee. Seriously, these guys are supposed to be celebrating. They're supposed to be happy. They're supposed to be, having this grand old time because now Grendel and his mother are both dead. And here, Hrothgar can't help but say, be careful, dude, because someday you're going to make a poor choice, or you're going to get old and frail like me, or you're going to die by the spear or the sword, or your eyes are going to fade and you're not going to be able to see as well. I mean, he's like, death is going to come for you too. This is that old English, that old English heroic ideal, where even in times of great glory, in times of great triumph, they are still talking about death. Remember, life is lean. Life is transitory. The only thing that you have are the good deeds that you do here now, and how people remember you after you die. That is the most important thing in Old English tradition. So, prime example of it right here in section 2425. And then, because Hrothgar says, then he says, I thought I could take on this demon myself. I couldn't do it. It took somebody like you to be able to come here and take care of this problem for me. Page 36. Go now to thy mead bench, honored warrior. Taste of the joy of the feast. Treasures full many shall be between us twain when morn shall come. They party for a while. Hrothgar takes off to his bed, and Beowulf and his friends keep the party going. He returns the sword grunting to Eklaf, the guy who had like talked down to him, and then the next morning they make ready to go. And that's the end of book 25. So I will have summary of books 26 through 30 for you later tonight.